This is part 2. And I pray with all my heart and soul that every single one of you listen to this very carefully. If this doesn't break your heart, if this doesn't hurt your DNA in such a way that you really want to change the circumstances, then you're just not human anymore. You really aren't. And you can either choose to change those circumstances or not. It's entirely up to you. That's a decision you make. But right now, I hope you paid attention to part 1 here, and you really do get it through your thick skull. How far away we are from our primordial state. How far away we are from doing the things that we can naturally do, that we can no longer do. It should put tears into your heart. I had the pleasure myself of personally meeting the oldest and wisest civilization on this planet. Sitting down with the most intelligent human being on earth, the most advanced in the world, the ones with their most natural organic human abilities that can do things you wouldn't even dream of. I had that pleasure. I was blessed to be able to see this with my own 2 eyes and feel it. It's a moment that puts you in the tears. When you realize how beautiful these people are and the feelings they give you that you've never felt before in your life from any other human being in our civilization, not even remotely close, you'd understand. You'd seriously understand the impact it has on your life and your DNA. You know, I've said this before, but I need to say this again. And I pray with all my heart that you really, really seriously listen to what I say to you. Seriously take this deep into your heart and soul. National Geography in 2008 did an episode called The Alice. The lady who's hosted the show for more than 20 years was sitting at her office in LA. At the end of the program, a 1-hour documentary, she's sitting in her office 4 months later and she says, "You know, we did the Alice shoot over 4 months ago. I've taken you to the greatest locations in the world and some 2 or 3 times with the best atmospheres on earth and the most beautiful people. But nothing I've ever shown you for 20 years will mount up to anything like this place. Not even remotely close. It calls your heart like there's something about this place. It calls your heart forever. It is the most spectacular atmosphere on earth that they create. And there's no feeling on earth like it. Not even remotely close." I know a group of people that spent 3 weeks with these people. And when they had to leave, they broke into tears. They didn't want to leave. They felt so disconnected. And the reason they went into tears was because they said they never knew people like this even existed. The most loving, compassionate creatures they'd ever met in human history. And nothing in our world even comes remotely close to it. The most compassionate people on earth, the most instinctive, And the pure love they have for one another and for us, the way that we are, is sensational. They've been trying to help us for many years, but white man crazy. White man crazy. Can't get through white man's thick skull. White man destroy the earth. White man destroy land. White man destroy nature. White man destroyed the sixth sense on every animal in the world. White man, psychological. There's nothing in this world more important to us than being communicating with nature, because that's where our molecules come from. That's everything about our biological genes. When we don't feed right and we're not connected with nature the way we're meant to be, we only have 10% of our nutritional value, and that's why our DNA is collapsing all over the world. That's why our body starts to go in corruption, growth, and collusion, because of the mindset we live in, because of the decisions we make, what we consume and what we entertain by consistently. We can no longer change mankind from the way he thinks. It's beyond the point of return. Man is going fast track into nowhere but his own extinction. And he doesn't care. He lives in denial. He's lost 90% nutritional value. He's lost his ability to think with his sixth sense 95 to 99% of the time. He now thinks psychologically and mentally 95 to 99% of the time, completely inverted, completely stripped from his natural organic motor skills. We can see it in every DNA evidence study done in the whole world and compare it with theirs. Our DNA is nothing like theirs is, but it used to be. We've been stripped from it, from generation to generation. People do not care. They normalize this behavior and consistently twist the fabric of truth to suit themselves and live in their own truth. And every human being on earth is doing this. Every person lives in a narrative to conquer and divide with, become more egotistical and more self-centered than ever in global history. And they consume 7 to 12 times more products on a marketing strategy. They throw so much rubbish out, they don't even care anymore. They don't care. They can't go back. They cannot go back to their primal state. They're beyond the point of return. In Australia, the best oxygen in the world, in 2019, they found 550,000 dead cattle, 80,000 horses. A month later, they found 2,000 dead camels for the first time in human history, for the same reason. The lack of nutritional value and being stripped from their sixth sense to conduct with. Now, food products all over the world, from the best location in the world in nature, has lost 40% nutritional value. In our marketing strategy, 93% of the stuff we consume has lost 90%. No one cares. Literally, nobody cares. The world doesn't care. The politicians don't care. The authorities don't care. The media system doesn't care. And humanity doesn't care. One can only imagine where this is going to, no matter what mindset people are in. People are disconnected. They live on 5 senses, negative feels, non-stop, no matter what comes out of their mouth and what they say they believe in. We can prove it on DNA evidence. Their sixth sense is not working. The only reason that we lack vitamin D, magnesium, zinc, iodine, the reason we lack these things the most in every DNA study done all over the world is why we have defective genes, 7,000 of them in every human being on earth, except for one handful, except for one tiny handful. People choose not to believe in it. But they won't go out and get a study done. They won't sustain DNA. They won't get the right results from any system in the world unless they go to UniFed or Long Life. Then they'll get a true answer. But 90% of people would rather live in their own bubble and pretend that they're human. But when they cannot do what I can do, they're not. When they cannot do what these people can do, they're not. Because that's their spiritual connection. Their sixth sense is a spiritual connection. When you're disconnected from that, you're following another forefather's footstep and code in your DNA. And you're stuck in a reincarnation trap, and you're not breaking free from amnesia. You're not reborn. You don't know who you are, why you're here, what the meaning of life is, no matter how you look at it. This is on every document in the world that you're not paying attention to. That matches the book of Revelation so perfect it's uncanny. In the post-human stage, no longer human. You can see how people respond and react all over the world. It's not difficult. If you call these people human beings on earth today, you're mentally insane yourself. You really are. If you compare yourself to one of these human beings that I'm talking about, you realize you're mentally insane. They're the most humble human beings on earth, and their silence speaks in volumes because you can feel it. They convey feelings to thoughts. They know how to use a universal language so you can feel what they're thinking because they tell you in your mind. They can project their feelings into midair, into the atmosphere, and project it into you and become the voice in your skull. You don't have that ability. They do. We call them demonic. That's what our Western civilization calls it. Demonic. Because they can't do it. Because they can't do it and they don't care. They're jealous. They're spiteful. They're cowards. They don't care about nothing but themselves and their marketing strategy. And that's practically the whole world, isn't it, today? When you're that disconnected from water, and water has a personality, and you scoff it down your throat without a care factor in the world, we know what the shit is you scoff down your throat 99% of the time. Garbage. There's no life in it, there's no positivity in it, and there's no relationship with it. The only relationship you have is with yourself and your own bubble and in your own truth with materialistic things. We take the phone of most people. We know how crazy you are and we know what voice controls you. We know what masters your mind when you're not in control of your own mind. When you can't communicate with nature and somebody else can, you think you know better. If animals are dying all over the world because they're stripped from their sixth sense from nutritional value, what makes you think you're not? If nature and fauna is falling apart and only has 10% nutritional value left, what makes you think you're not? Are you that inverted? Are you that stupid? Then when everything you consume has lost its nutritional value and can't conduct anymore from the same molecules that they're stripped from, how can you possibly think that all the food that you consume can make you better than nature itself? How? In 1960, we had elephants and rhinos 1,000 years old. Now we don't have any left more than 200. 500 years ago, we had people here 500 years old. We still have people here 160 years old today. But they lie to you about it. They tell you you're getting older when in fact you're getting younger. And lie about that too. All part of a reincarnation trap, so you keep getting reborn and used as a slave. The faster you die before you get on pension, the better it is for them. That's why they keep putting the pension rate up and people die younger at the same time. If you really understand the structure, that's what's happening here. People used to retire on pension once and live a great life for a few years. That's all gone. They keep upping the pension non-stop and pretend that you live to be older when in fact you don't. But they can get rid of the pensioners that way. Right, the burden on society, and keep people in a reincarnation trap so they can keep being reborn and used in a reincarnation trap where they become slaves throughout their whole life. You see, there's some people here on earth, and there was many 45 years ago that told you these things. Now they suppress them all over the world. Yet there was hundreds of people telling you this 45 years ago. Thousands, in fact, and we didn't even have a social media platform. Used to be on television as well, on programs. People that could use their progenitor genes and knew their previous lives, that was not stuck in a reincarnation trap, and knew how to use those tools. And some people here today do, and they suppress it from you. Other people like myself, it's impossible to communicate with you. It's impossible for you to get any attention to you whatsoever because you don't really care. You're quite happy with the way you are. You're actually happy with every tool that you use and don't want to do nothing about it, right? Because you're so controlled by stress, fear, and anxiety that you keep yourself in a reincarnation trap and never discover who you are, why you're here, or the meaning of life. You never break free from amnesia. You're not even reborn, and you don't know how to use those tools. Every person in the world lies about it. You can tell by the tools they use. I'm an expert at this. I'm one of the biggest experts in the whole world you'll ever come across. I know people's died 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. They can tell you more about life than you even know about. People that die and cross over and come back, like myself, 3 times. Do you think you know better than I do? Because 99% of people actually do believe that. You keep coming back here. You keep coming back here. Do you understand that? You keep bringing heaven to earth. You keep bringing your information from your previous life forward so you can be intelligent. High intelligent, higher and more sophisticated than any person in the world. Take a look at Bill Gates. He hasn't got one credential. He owns Garvey at the top of 10 offices at Geneva Convention. He's in charge of nearly everything to do with GMO foods, mRNA technology, and all these things. He owns worldbank.org, biz, for the WF. He sits at the UN like he owns his own country without one document of any credentials whatsoever. He became the richest man in the world by 24. He never had an education, couldn't read and write. How do you think a person like this gets to that position? How do you think? What tools do you think they use? If you take a look at people like George Soros and people like him, the Rockefellers and that, take a look at their early credentials. They don't have any. They don't have any. They don't have any. And yet they all seem to live to be about 90 to 100 years old, older than most of you. And they're still negative creatures. Imagine if you're positive. Imagine if you're a positive human being and using those tools. Imagine what you can do. See, they don't want you to do what you can do because they can't do what you can do. They're stuck in their reincarnation trap. And they know how to use those tools. How to mold things, control things, and shape things, but you don't. They keep you in a marketing strategy and educate you to be inverted so you can't use the tools that they use. That's why they're masterminds and they don't do education like you do. Don't you realize that? They're not educated like you at all. They don't go through the same process whatsoever. They're the absolute masterminds in the world that controls you on the marketing strategy and controls every single thing in this world. Don't you realize that? Don't you realize how intelligent they really are? Don't you realize who they are? When you look at the books they hold up, like the Book of Statistics, Bill Gates' favorite book, that book is revised. It's a Law and Order documents 300 years ago. It's called the Book of Chaos. How to Create Chaos is the Book of Statistics. That book goes all the way back to the days of Babylon. The same tools, the same structure used by the pharaohs, the Greeks and the Persians in the Roman days. Exactly the same statistics, how to manipulate the whole population in the slavery system into a reincarnation trap where they get stuck. That's why Moses took everyone across to the deserts to break them free from amnesia. And it took them 40 years and 3 generations to break people free from amnesia to discover who they are and not be stuck in a reincarnation trap. Do you realize that? That's what Jesus was doing. Breaking people free from the reincarnation trap. At 24 years old, He was brought up specifically for 17 years missing from the Bible, removed for that very reason. He knew how to master his mind, and at 24 he discovered who he was and the tools that he could use. Then he took 12 disciples out, and he put them through a process for 7 years, because it takes a cycle of life of 7 years for people to master their mind. And when they can do that, they can do what he can and more. We still have that evidence here today that people can do that. But how many people do you think can do that? Who do you think they really are? Who do you think they are that are not mastered by the mind and knows how to use their progenitor genes in such a way that they're not stuck in a reincarnation trap? So they can come back here and educate people how to use these tools. But we've been suppressed from you. We are being suppressed from you, right? We're being suppressed from you for very dramatic reasons. That's why I'm one of the most suppressed people in the world, because of the tools I can use. They don't want you to know. That's why I'm suppressed. That's why the military and NSA and everybody sits on top of us. Because they don't want you to know the tools they're using. They don't want you to know how they get their technology and why they're so sophisticated in this world, and you're not. You're nowhere near what they are. Not even remotely close. They're more than 10 times more intelligent than every other person in the world. More than 10 times more intelligent than all you guys that calls them stupid, calls them idiots. And 90% of you call them stupid and idiots. Take a good look at yourself and take a look at Bill Gates. How can you compare yourself with that person? Right? In the position he's in, how can you even compare yourself? I'm not telling you to be evil like him. We know who he is. But understand the tools that they use and why they have these abilities to control the world and control you. Because they do, no matter what bubble you live in. Garvey and the 10 officers that sits at Geneva is the very 10 officers and the 10 kings we warned about that controls 93% of everything you consume. No matter how you look at it. And then 93% of all your food that you consume has lost 90% nutritional value, because they put you in that mindset on a marketing strategy to be competitive and to entertain everything else but your natural organic motor skills. So you cannot think instinctively and think outside the mindset you live in. You're controlled by the mind on a marketing strategy. That's why they put you in education. So the voices come into your mind. So the voices come into your mind that controls you all the time, that are ultimately designed for human extinction, declared in documents all over the world, born in Revelation. The voices in your mind, in your skull. And you're controlled by the skull. But your mind is your heart. 40,000 bodily cells that comes from water that you don't have a relationship with whatsoever. It's what controls your biological system and going corruption, coercion, illusion, because you are. Because your mind is. Because you think 95 to 99% of the time psychologically and mentally, and that's 5 senses with a high IQ. That makes you think you're good at what you do. But you're not intelligent. You only use 7 to 9% of your brain. And someone who thinks outside the mind can use 100% and can connect with nature in such a way that nature communicates with us. We communicate with nature. But now we have cattle dying all over the world by the hundreds of thousands and going around in circles all over the world because they're losing their sixth sense because of the way we are. Because we create negativity, and negativity creates extinction. And we delude ourselves and live in our own little bubble, in our own comfort zone, to think we're something special. And, oh, no, not me, I'm awake. Everybody does the same thing. Everyone says, oh, no, not me, I'm awake. In the whole Western civilization, every single human being on earth says the same thing. Lie. Because when you're not breaking free from amnesia, you've got no idea what you're doing. And amnesia means you don't know. Your natural organic motor skills and the power that you really have, that's stripped from you. If you're only thinking instinctively 1 to 5% of the time, imagine a phone running on 1 to 5% of battery power. That's you. That's the state of mind you're in right now, and we can see it on DNA evidence across the whole world that you cannot lie about. You do not communicate with nature, and nature does not communicate with you. You don't even talk to your water that has a personality. That's why your body starts going corruption, coercion, illusion, because you're 75% water and your DNA is 93% water that you have no connection with whatsoever. You're that negative. You're that negative that nature's collapsing all over the world, and we have the power to restore it. Do you actually listen to what I'm saying? You have the power to repair your genes, DNA, and immune system to live to be 1,000 years old and go in a new timeline, to live at the tree of life. Life. We connect to life. We communicate with life. We can change the soil. We can change the molecules. We can bring back more than 90% nutritional value. We have the power to do that. So we are responsible, each and every one of us. Stop trying to save the world. Start saving yourself and start reconnecting yourself with life, nature, and the things we're in harmony with. Because we're that disconnected from all materialistic things and stuck in a reincarnation trap. And we're going to wish we were dead for 1,000 years if we don't get out of that. To be resurrected is to go back to your primal state. To be reborn means to turn around, to go back. To break free from amnesia, to go back to your primal state. In the image we're created in, and we have a God-given gift we come in this world with the power that we're so stripped from. The most humble, loving, compassionate, spiritual human beings on earth is recorded by National Geographic in the top science in the whole world to have the most positive energy on earth that spreads like a virus. They have the power we do not have. We spread negativity, and negativity creates extinction. They're the last human beings on earth that can change the positive fields across the whole planet and change the vibrations in such a way it changes nature and alters nature and every animal on earth instinctively in such a way they get back nutritional value so they can feed us correctly, so we can conduct correctly. That's what we stripped from. That was the greatest deception ever created in human history by a marketing strategy. On reverse psychology, to be completely inverted and completely stripped from our sixth sense. And that's how you know a genuine human being on earth and the last human beings born on earth. One that can do this. One that can communicate with nature. So I want to make this clear with you. As I told you in part 1 with the Min light, 2 months ago I made a video called Who is the Antichrist Part 2, and you saw them flying around the room, right? You saw them flying around the room here, and you cannot lie or deceive yourself. You don't see it with any other human being on earth. The watchers that watch over us, the angels that are here to save us right now, are with me on live videos, but you're not paying attention. Marin, a few weeks ago, you saw a tree bend down 4 feet to kiss her on the lips, right? So she's connected to nature the same way I am. We communicate with nature, and nature's screaming out at us for us to deliver this information to you. The most crucial information in human history that will change the circumstances. We have the power to change the earth with nutritional value if we stop this nonsense that we're going into. And we have to set the examples here. You have to dedicate yourself for 7 years of your life to go back to primal state. It doesn't happen overnight with information, and more critical thinking. That's inverted tools, and you listen to your forefathers' footsteps with a voice in your mind that controls your mind when you're not in control of it. Because this is the abilities that you have when you're in control. Then you have the God-given power that's so powerful that you communicate with everything through a universal language, and your perception changes completely and not so limited. Not so oppressed and depressed. You're all in depression out there and take drugs to numbing yourself because you can't cope in life. For that very reason. You can't conduct anymore because of the molecules that's missing in your body cells. And the relationship that you have with materialistic things. And entertaining yourself. Or avoiding it. Or living in your own bubble in your own truth. Or conquer and divide. Debate, argue, far left, far right. I'm better than everyone. We know exactly who uses the inverted tools that strips our DNA to go into corruption, curse, collision with their egotistical behavior. That's not hard to see, is it? How they keep feeding the same system with their bubbles and their same empire, and all they want to do is they save their own kind because they followed their forefathers' footsteps to save their own kind and to save this world and their materialistic things and everything they're designed into that controls them in a marketing strategy with 1,000 chains wrapped around them that they can't depend on without. They cannot depend on anything to do with life, nature, and things we're in harmony with. They depend on everything the opposite, invertedly. And I know it's hard, but it's also reality that people can't wake up to. Everyone thinks they're awake out there. Oh, I deprogram myself. Can you do the things that I mentioned here in these 2 videos? Can you even do anything remotely close to it? Can you go out and talk to nature? Can the nature bend down and kiss you on the lips? Can the Min lights come to you? Can the divine light come to you? Can the watchers come to you live on videos? Are they having a relationship with you? Are you feeling it, man? Or do you lie to yourself and live in some massive delusion and lie to everyone else to deceive everyone else because you live in a bubble? Because the Min light only works with the Australian Aborigines and a handful of people that has a relationship with us that are genuinely reborn and broke free from amnesia to discover who they are, why they're here, and what the meaning of life is. And believe me when I tell you this, I'm the only one on earth out of the masterminds in the world that has this relationship with the Holy Spirit and divine light that's here teaching you this. Perfectly correct, like no other human being on earth is. Because they can't even communicate with you lot. They can't even talk to you lot because you put yourself on a pedestal, think you know better, and throw stones at us. That's why they can't function with human beings on earth. That's why they've got to get away from you, get right off the grid from the whole Western civilization, and cannot cope with human beings because they're not human. Because they're not human with the tools they use. They don't know what love is. They don't know what compassion is. They don't even know what the 8 tools of righteousness is in their real life. They lie about it. Loyalty, honor, respect, moral, morals, inspiration, encouragement. They conquer and divide with their opinions because they're designed to do that. And that's the tools they use from their own marketing strategy to better themselves and put themselves in a pedestal. Like they know better than everybody else, but they don't. They cause the human conditioning. They cause the 6th mass extinction, being stripped from their 6th sense for the 6th time. And they keep doing it over and over again, stuck in that reincarnation trap with their selfish, egotistical, jealous, spiteful behavior. They're not human. They're not human in this world. And some are interested in going back to their primal state to be in that image, but majority is beyond the point of return. Beyond the point of return in brain-locked denial because they're not who you think they are. They're not human. And there's only a handful of humans left on earth that can save humanity. Only a handful left on earth that can really genuinely save humanity. By using the tools that's coded in their DNA with their natural organic motor skills to think outside the mind, with the 6th sense, in the most positive fields where you communicate with nature, where you communicate with the water, you pray to your water every day and have a relationship with your own body cells. Because you're 75% water. And you're salt. It tells you that in the Bible, you're salt. When you lick your sweat, you're water and salt. And that salt is sea salt, isn't it? Isn't it when you taste it salty? Salt in your body cells? And that salt is magnesium, iron, iodine, zinc, graphene oxide that you conduct with. That's what you taste. You taste it in a battery, don't you, with the acid, right? So what is it? It's your conductor, isn't it? Isn't it a conductor? So you conduct, right? You conduct. So when your molecules aren't right, you can't conduct, can you, with your body cells on the outside, with the outside influence in your reality, from the most positive fields. When you think instinctively, you create the most positive fields. When you think psychologically, you create the most negative fields, no matter what conclusion you come to with your high IQ. That's where you're so stripped. You know, you don't need books. You don't need science. You don't need none of that stuff. Jesus told you that. He actually told you that. Only a gnostic mastermind is supposed to teach the Bible that knows metaphor. No one's supposed to read any books there. Poison from the past or poison in the future. The Aborigines always knew that and had an outside influence in their reality where they knew the history better than what we do. We lie about it non-stop because books and education can lie to you non-stop and deceive you the most. But the outside influence your reality can't because it's a light bulb idea. The picture that tells you 1,000 words and a picture can never lie. Have you ever seen the Aborigines write a book? They write pictures that tells a whole story and the story can't lie to you. No matter who wants to explain it and what language they want to use, they cannot confuse you. They're not confused by what we call a marketing strategy to be confused. Babylon got smashed into the nations with different languages to confuse people, right? And that's what people are confused with so much today. They've been using that for 5,000 years. That's why they're all inverted. They created languages and wording through education to confuse people, right? To distract people and cause the confusion all over the world for a marketing strategy. The Aborigines use a universal language that I'm attached to, where we can feel each other codependently for thousands of kilometers away, right? With an outside influence in our reality, where we connect spiritually, like a spiritual tribe like they're connected with, the most spiritual human beings on earth. right? That the Minmin light, the divine light, is with and has a relationship with. Not with us. They send white men into the abyss. Go and look at the videos on YouTube. They send white men into the abyss. White man crazy, white man God's crazy. White men follow their forefathers' footsteps, and those are the facts. They're psychological, egotistical, and all they care about is a marketing strategy, and then they die and come back to be the slaves again. Because they're the forefathers' children, aren't they? That's why they follow their forefathers' footsteps, so they can stay in the reincarnation trap and keep coming back and being their slave. But this time they're going to wish they were dead for 1,000 years by making those decisions that becomes their own judgment. And the Aboriginals knew that because they've been living of the tree of life for thousands of years and not of the tree of knowledge. They live by the Wynyard rule equally, to govern life equally. They don't conquer and divide. They live by 2 simple commandments to love one another, and burns, and they always did. We did the inverted. We are the inverted, totally inverted to what Jesus told us to do. That they live by the tree of life. And they're connected to the tree of life. And they create the most powerful molecules in the world. The most highest nutritional value in the food. And the animals communicate with them in ways that they don't like us because we're crazy. We live in our 5 senses, which is negative fields. We think too much and we think we know everything and we keep thinking about it with a voice in the mind that controls us all the time with an outside influence on their reality. So there's 2 different types of species here. Do you get that? There's psychological mental ones, and some of them knows how to use the reincarnation trap to control the whole world and keep everybody psychologically mental so they don't. But then there's some here that are masterminds that works for the righteousness with an outside influence in their reality. You see, the voice in your mind has a personality. The ones that we communicate with has moral instincts, 2 different abilities to feel things. Moral instincts is to feel. You follow your voice. You follow your forefathers' footsteps with the voice in your mind. I follow what I feel through my heart, through my intuition, with the 8 tools of righteousness, because I was taught to do that by the oldest and wisest civilization in the world, to be reconnected to life, nature, and the things we're in harmony with. And that's why God put me through this path, for that very reason. Now I come here with the Minmin lights live in these videos, and my wife Maren talks to trees, and they bend down to kiss on the lips like they do. And you don't believe in it? What mindset do you live in? Can you do the things that we can here live in videos? Can you change people and go back to the Brahman state to use these tools? Or are you just psychologically mental and pretend that you know everything and lie to everyone else because you don't have the experience, wisdom, or the knowledge to teach anybody anything in the bubble that you live in? You don't even know what love and compassion is. Not without using those tools correctly, right? The 8 tools of righteousness and living by it in flesh, not on social media platform, in real life. And changing the circumstances in people's DNA to have these tools to be reconnected with life, nature, and the things that we're in harmony with. Which is loyalty, honor, respect, moral inspiration, encouragement. It's those tools and no other tools are required in this earth. And then you have an outside influence in your reality that's 10 times more powerful with 7-fold wisdom and knowledge that guides you in life. Where you know the future and you know the past and you know how to change it. No gift on earth could be more powerful and more beautiful than that gift that God gave us. And we're so stripped from it, and that's why we're in the opposite. In Baal's image, in every negative field, negativity creates extinction, positivity creates life. And you've got to break free from amnesia to discover this. That's what reborn's all about. That's what resurrection of humanity is, to go back in the primal state, to discover who they really are, why they're here, what the meaning of life is, and escape the reincarnation trap. So you go into a new timeline to live at the tree of life for 1,000 years. And how do you think you're going to do that? To live at the tree of life, it's self-explanatory, isn't it? You live of the tree of knowledge and everything that comes with it. But isn't it self-explanatory? To live of the tree of life, isn't it really self-explanatory? Or do you complicate the mindset that you live in? With scientific knowledge and quantum fields, quantum mechanics, vibrations, frequencies. Is that the mindset you live in? To belittle everything? Well, that's why you follow your forefather's footsteps with the 5th dimension downwards, with 5-dimensional thinking. 5 senses. That's what you're attached to, and that's what you love so much. And that's why you'll never wake up. And that's your decision. That'll become your own judgment. But don't think for 1 minute that God's not trying to help you, because he's trying to help you through these people, the wisest civilization in the world, that you won't communicate with. Because you're a dickhead. White man crazy, white man God's crazy. And then they think they're intelligent with high IQ. That only makes them good at what they do by destroying their DNA and destroying everybody else around, by belittling people, belittle. I'm better than everyone, far left, far right. I know everything and you don't. That's the psychological mental creatures all over the world. And there's plenty of them on social media platform, especially the Texas. They're all mental out there. That's the only tools they can use. It's words. And they think words is the truth and their literal truth. And they have no dimensional thinking. They've got no outside influence in their reality that has a totally different perception where they can feel things, right from wrong and good from evil. Because they don't use those tools. They justify with reasoning. And that's the tools they use. Reasoning, that's self-explanatory. Design and evolution theories, not facts. And that's self-explanatory too. Yet they use those tools. And whenever they want to create something, they always go to a scientist, a professor, or some evolution bullshit because they've got no faith in life. They've got no faith in their natural organic matter skills to communicate, but they don't need books and scientists. But they do. And they're the most advanced civilization in the world. And believe me, I'm the biggest mastermind recording their documents for that reason. And that's why I'm here trying to save you from the skull. The voice in your mind that suppresses you. Because people are possessed by the devil recording on documents and oppressing them so much with their psychological mental behavior, and they take drugs to numb themselves and sit in front of a screen all day. And then they think they're human and teach people around the world like they're human, like they're something special. They can't do half the things I can. They can't even do 10% of what I can. Yet the people that listen to me and practice what I preach are beginning to discover this and breaking free from amnesia and going back to the primal state through their progenitor genes to unlock the DNA code within. Within. You know what I'm saying? Within. Do you not get that? To unlock the DNA code within yourself, to use your natural organic motor skills, to be in tap, to be in harmony, to be in peace, to be a real loving, compassionate human being is to use those tools correctly and not to think about it, but to think outside the mind and master your mind so your mind no longer masters you. So your heart masters you. And your heart is your most powerful tool in the world, the most positive feels. Don't you get that? You know, you can understand why the most intelligent people in the world, the masterminds that knows how to use these tools, don't want to sit here. They don't want to go near people. People are so rude, and the ones that pretend they're listening to them just live in a bubble. How many people do you really think that cares about themselves enough to get out of the reincarnation trap so that they're going to be 1,000 years old, so they can create the molecules and prepare their genes down immune system and stand on their own 2 feet in their own sovereignty with that confidence and that power, without the system that they're attached to so much? Huh? Think about it for a moment. 99% of people can't release the system of the Babylonian beast that they love so much with their free will. Well, they got free will and they took it in their own hands, and now look at their DNA. Now look at what the tools they use and the things they love so much, and that makes them think they're so intelligent, but they can't do half of the things I can, or any of these people can, that are the last human beings born on earth, and the only ones who can save humanity. The only ones who can save humanity. They are the elect and the only ones that are not human anymore, that has those abilities and that can teach mankind how to spread this virus like a wildfire with the most positive feels in such a way that we can restore nature. We can restore everything to 10 times more nutritional value so we can consume the right foods and keep ourselves in tap in our primal state to create superhuman abilities compared to anything we understand today, because our mind oppresses it so much. This is who we are. We were designed to do what Jesus can and more. And Jesus talks about the bloodline that he comes from and reincarnation. Do you know that? He actually explains who he is through the same bloodline. Enoch, Elisha, Moses, Abraham, Jacob, right? He talks about who he is in his progenitor genes and uses those tools. Nostradamus predicted everything from Revelation with the same tools because he was a gnostic mastermind designed for that. And I'm that person designed for this moment today through the same bloodline. And you may not believe that, but why in God's word wouldn't you want to believe that? Because that's who I am. I'm Enoch, I'm Jesus Christ, I'm Moses, I'm Noah, and I'm designed for this whether you believe it or not. I was created from this moment, from the day I come into this world with all the signs, with the most powerful signs on earth and a universal language you don't understand. I was designed for this, to be sitting here in front of you teaching what no other man on earth does, how to resurrect back in your primal state. and how to use these tools. Watch the last videos I made the last 2 days and watch every single one of them and get them through your thick skull, because I teach you how to go back to your moral state. You only got to listen and practice what I preach, and you'll discover these things and break free from amnesia. And this is the resurrection of humanity, whether you believe it or not. For God's sake, don't let yourself down. God loves each and every one of you, and he's trying his best with me, right? And you better listen to me and pay attention, because if you don't, I can guarantee you're going to fail. And I don't want you to fail, nor does the Father. Do you get that? Because I'm teaching you to do things that no other human being on earth is. And that's a fact. Okay? That's the most powerful love you will ever get.